Yo guys, welcome back to the channel where we're going to break down the Platinum Trophy for Crash Team Racing. We're also going to cover individual trophies that were either hard to obtain or they have exploits in them. I can explain how I ended up getting these trophies myself as well as effective ways for you to earn them. So without wasting any more time, let's just jump into the video. So, for the remainder of the video we're going to be touching on two subjects. One will be a trophy shout out and the last thing will be my overall opinion of the game itself. So what is the trophy shout out? In this section I'm going to be listing trophies that are either difficult or generally just worth a shout out. Now there won't be a lot of trophies in this list itself as it's going to more or less come down to your ability to complete the harder time trials or the story itself. And then the last segment of the video will basically just be my overall impression of the game and my opinion. So with that being said, let's just dive right into it. Now, the first trophy I want to touch on is Galaxy's Fastest. The reason I want to touch on this very quickly is the fact that a lot of people have a lot of confusion surrounding this trophy, but you get this for defeating Nitros for the second time in the story. But the question is, how do you even unlock the ability in the first place to play him for the second time? Well, this is basically done by achieving 100% of the game and defeating Nitros in the main story for the first time. After this, you need to go then attain all the relics, all the CTR tokens, and all the gems from the Grand Prix races. Only once you have done this will he unlock for a second time, but once you beat him in the race after that, that should unlock the trophy for you. So, the second trophy that I am going to be covering in the trophy shoutout is Yee Haw, Yee Haw, which is basically for beating the adventure on hard mode. So the reason I have included this trophy to talk about is basically that there is a lot of RNG involved, especially with the weaponry. Not to mention falling behind in boss battles can be a pain, because if you fall behind early, it's very hard to pick yourself back up again. So my best advice to you as a player is to try and get in front of the boss on lap 1 very early, so this way it ensures that you don't fall behind too much and you don't get hit by weapon after weapon. And I can't really stress enough that this goes double for the AI, as there is a massive amount of RNG when it comes to the weaponry that they hit you with. I can't even stress this enough that the amount of times I boosted off a ledge or I was turning in a corner only to get hit by a homing rocket or a bomb was very frustrating, as this can really make the difference, especially on lap 3 between winning and losing. You also need to be optimizing any shortcuts you can in the maps, so what I would recommend is learning all the shortcuts on the maps so you can make your time versing the AI on hard mode much easier for yourself. This ensures that you have the best possible chance of winning the race itself, as well as being able to take full advantage of the drift boosting mechanics in the game. You're going to have to learn how to maintain your drift boost as long as possible, while also maintaining the boost itself in the reserves. Having a full understanding of how the reserve boosts work in this game will make the difference between winning and losing for a lot of your races, especially for when it comes to the harder time trials later, which I will be touching on soon. So in terms of the reserve boosting itself, think of it as a hidden meter that you're not aware of while playing the game, as the game won't actively show you what you have in the reserves. And since the topic on reserve boosting can get very complicated very quickly, I don't want to confuse any of my viewers, so instead I'm going to leave a link in the description to an article that explains it very precisely. Another mechanic that you can use to your advantage that I wanted to talk about really quickly was the ability to U-turn. Now, why is U-turning effective? U-turning basically grants you the ability to make sharp turns at a much more precise angle. At first, when you are trying to U-turn, it's going to feel very hard. The reason why U-turning is quite difficult is it's not natural to do in the game, so it might take you a little while to adjust on how to U-turn, but then that begs the question, how do you do a U-turn? A U-turn can be accomplished by letting go of the acceleration and doing a jump air brake at the same time, as well as pressing down and the direction that you want to turn the corner in. But be aware, anytime during the U-turn you hit the acceleration button again, you lose all momentum and you lose your boost. At first you are going to have lots of errors with this, but eventually you will get it down, trust me. It will make one map in particular that I'm going to talk about much easier to tackle later on, especially in the time trials. So with that being said, let's move on to our final two trophies that I want to talk about on the list. So for the final two trophies that I actually want to talk about, it will be the New Time Master and the Gasmoxian Slug. These trophies are tied to the time trial sections of the game, and you get them respectively for defeating Entropy and Oxide's times. Now for me personally, I didn't really have an issue defeating Entropy, as for the most part I was actually quite far ahead of him when I was on the races themselves. So in terms of actually unlocking the Oxide and the Entropy ghosts themselves, there's going to be a set time on each track that you need to accomplish to unlock Entropy himself. Then, once you have unlocked the ghost himself, you need to beat him to unlock the Nitrous Oxide ghost. Now I will tell you, the very first time you play against Oxide and you try and beat his time trial on Crash Curve, that is going to feel like a nightmare. That's why I was mentioning earlier that you need full understanding of how the mechanics work in this game, including the reserve boost and the drift slide. You will also need to make it a habit to take every shortcut possible, because Oxide isn't going to give you a break when it comes to shortcuts. On a side note, I thought this was worth mentioning, but you can actually use any engine in the game, whether that's 10, speed, acceleration or balanced, it doesn't really matter. It's all going to depend on your skill. You're also going to develop a large amount of patience for this mode because it's going to test you and push you to your limits. Overall, when it comes to tracks, I would say that the CTR tracks are actually more easier than the CNK tracks. The CNK tracks themselves tend to be much more lenient when it comes to the time trial itself. Now make no mistake, you are going to get very frustrated when it comes to the time trials because you're going to have to retry over and over and over again. But there is one specific map that I need to talk about that anybody would basically grill me for if I didn't talk about it, and that is the infamous Dragon Mines track. This map alone is known for having very annoying bends and turns, as well as having very annoying obstacles that are going to get in the way between you and your drift boosting. But there is one specific turn that will make or break Dragon Mines, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you play the map. This is why I talked about U-turning earlier on, because you're going to need it. It's going to make the turn much more easier to cope with. So ultimately, if you can get past Dragon Mines and you can do all the CTR tracks, then you shouldn't have much issue with the CNK tracks either. And then once you have beat Oxide and Entropia on all the tracks, you should obtain the Gasmoxian Slug and the new Time Master trophy. This personally was the last trophy that I achieved, so when the trophy did pop I just got the Platinum straight after it. So that covers the trophy shoutout section, so I'm just going to give my quick opinion on the game. And after that, I'm going to give the game a Platinum score. I want to base the game on difficulty, on how fun it was, the estimated time to Platinum, and then overall I'm going to give it a score at the end on what I think of the game. So with that being said, let's just move on to the next section. So now I'm basically going to give my opinion on the game. This won't be anything long and lengthy, this is just a quick overview of what I think on the game itself. Now personally, I've always loved CTR, I loved it ever since it came back out on the PS2. And when I heard that there was a remake coming out, you can imagine how excited I was. I mean, never in a million years did I think that we'd ever get a Crash Team Racing remake. But lo and behold, the gods have shined upon us and we got it. Now I have to say that this is probably my favourite kart racer outside of Mario Kart Double Dash. Now I normally always get torn between these two kart racer games because they are both equally amazing in their own right. But after replaying CTR, I definitely have to say that CTR is probably a little bit better than Mario Kart Double Dash for me, even though both are very fun. Another point to come across is that the handling in CTR is probably some of the best kart racer handling you'll ever experience. None of the cars feel light, it all feels like they have weight behind them, which is great. Not to mention to have the combined map list of CTR and CNK all in one list is really nice. So overall, when it comes to the Platinum Trophy, I definitely have to say this was one of my more fun trophies that I earned. I also want to do a Platinum review for the Insane Trilogy, but that will be for another time. And I also wanted to give a big thank you to anyone that's actually watching the video. If you do enjoy the content, please feel free to give a subscribe. Also, don't forget to comment down below on what your favourite Platinums were and your experience with the Platinum Trophy in this game itself. I do actually also stream trophy hunting too, so if you want to check out my stream, the link in the description is going to be there. I definitely would appreciate seeing your fellow trophy hunters in the stream in the upcoming weeks. So I just want to say a big thank you to anyone that's watching this video, and remember to stay tuned for more Platinum reviews in the future. Take care guys, have a good one.